Hello and welcome to the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 Spoilercast and review from GigaBoots. I'm your host, Dan Video Games, and with me is Bob.
Omelette du fromage.
Dr. Aggro.
I think you mean Freedom RPG.
And Chris Wolfhard.
Parry slop.
And that's right, yet again we continue on to review another video game in our Spoilercast and review format. For anyone who hasn't listened to one of these before, what we do is we say a couple sentences at the beginning, followed by a guttural sound that sort of conveys our feelings on the game. Then we will discuss at great length criticisms, praises, anecdotes, etc. And then at the very end of this, you get that much coveted 1 to 10, and have we done 0 on the Spoilercast and reviews for video games? Whatever, we've done it elsewhere. 0 to 10 scale for a possible, potential, maximal 40 points. That's right, it's like the Famitsu scale, except for we never get a paycheck. When are we going to get that? We need to hire a guy who just gets us paid by game publishers.
We'll figure it out one of these days.
One of these days we'll do it. So, let's get our guttural sounds and couple sentence reviews out of the way with Dr. Aggro starting us off. Dr. Aggro, couple sentences and a sound.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is like a slice of immaculate birthday cake with a nail in it.
I felt him bite down.
Yeah.
Chris Wolfhard.
Clair Obscur is delightful. And while I have some problems with it at the very, very end with some of its balancing, I didn't have a nail in my piece of cake, so ooh.
Bob Video Games.
Clair Obscur really is like a super mixed bag in my opinion. I'm excited to talk about it.
Clair Obscur was an incredibly beautiful conveyance of the importance a character can have in the role of the universe and what that should mean for how powerful they are, followed up by a patch that made them shrink into a corn cob. No. Anyways, let's get to it. Why'd they have to patch me to do half as much damage as my health?
I don't
know. They shouldn't have done that. Unless it was literally crashing the game in some circumstances.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Then they shouldn't have fucking done it.
I was thinking about uninstalling the whole game and installing it from a disk offline because it was so cruel for that to happen the moment I went for the worst bosses in the game.
Yeah.
Which, if I had done all of the side content, I probably would have been prepared 100% for regardless. However, I did not. I was only level 84, and I feel like I could have had way more Pictos. I know, because I've seen the things people are saying are in this game. I find it truly fascinating to have a game whose entire core mechanic is you rewriting the rules to some extent of how combat plays out. And then you need to extend your ability to just pack in all of these modifiers and things until you're just a godlike being wandering this realm. I've never experienced anything quite like that in an RPG. It feels like Baba is you, the RPG.
Huh. Yeah, you get to do a lot of things to modify it. It's weird that then it's still like you have to sit back on parrying being a main focus of how you survive, though. Like, you don't get to change that at all. If you
No, you expect things like we were talking about before. You brought it up on a big Think Dimension, our weekly gaming news podcast. How you expect a thing that adjusts the window for parrying in a game like this.
Which I found out since then. I accidentally played basically this entire game in filmmaker mode.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. Yeah, but I did go back
for anyone who doesn't know, that's over 5 frames of lag just added on top of the.
Yeah. No,
my God,
it was
really reframed some of the things.
The Xbox sure was on a different input than I ever used for gaming.
Oh my God,
no.
And I did go back and try some other stuff that I was having a lot of trouble with, and some of those things are still just insanely hard, like in ridiculous amount of timing.
So
So I don't think it affected my opinion of the game that much, but it definitely did hurt.
I am always a fan of, parry slop's thrown around a decent bit and roll slop nowadays. But I've always been a fan of, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. Really great game. What if we just did that to games? Bunny Must Die has that mechanic, and it's one of the things I really adore about that.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a really great focus for this game to give it a unique view. However, I am done now. Don't do it again. I've had my fill. Aggro, do you have any thoughts on this?
Okay, so I'm going to need to make a couple of things very clear before I say the rest of what I'm going to say about this game.
Okay.
One, yes, I am not in the upper percentiles of people who are good at parrying in video games. Two, I did the parrying in this game all the way up through the beginning of Act 2. It is a thing I am able to accomplish. Three, I personally despise adding timed reactions to turn-based combat. I hate it in concept. I hate it in practice. I feel it is the wasteful ruin of otherwise better games. And I know that's a me thing, and I knew that was in this game, and I played it anyway, and everything else in this game fucking ruled. I love everything else about the combat in this game. But for the fact that you just had to constantly dodge or parry these attacks from enemies who had a bunch of feints, Dark Souls styles, different timed wind-ups designed to make sure you had to see every attack in order to learn it first.
Mm-hmm.
Hate that shit.
Yeah, it was really frustrating having to basically, you will take these hits. Like, you have to take them a few times to learn them, so you don't get to go in and actually just immediately enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really... I do not like a turn-based RPG having the Souls effect of learn their moves so you can parry them.
What drove me crazy, you can't even pause during the enemy's turn. It's like, guys, I'm playing a turn-based game. I don't want to just be locked in. Like, I died several times. So like, oh, I got a phone call or something. I have to go away, and they're going to be in the middle of attacking me for 3 turns straight.
Yeah.
It's like you lose a lot of the advantage of a turn-based game by doing this.
It's true. You've turned something that is a more passive and casual experience into something that is incredibly needy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a point made by my friend Voxandra from voxandra.gay that even when you get good at it, it still makes the battles take a really long time in comparison to when you do turn-based without the parrying.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the enemy turns just are ridiculously long because they have to go through their full Dark Souls chain.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I completely understand where Aggro's coming from. I think this was neat to do once. I literally played 29 hours of this game across 2 days. That's how I wanted to experience it. But even still, the sheer amount of parrying I did with the tension I did it with made me work out my hand and forearm in the weirdest way I've ever experienced with a video game. Like, those things you squeeze where it has the tension loop in it, the metal thing with 2 handles?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like I just went ham on that for hours straight.
Jesus.
I am the Double Dragon 2 cutscene of him grabbing the ladder rung going, grip!
Like, that's so wild to me. I cannot hit these parries unless I am like leaned back, loose grip on the controller, entering the void and tapping that button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something else about the parry that was wild was finding out, oh yeah, the camera actually works way better if you are only using one character.
It does, yeah.
Like, it's so much easier to tell what's happening when you don't have 3 guys standing in front of, like, the attacks you're trying to block.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that the game's designed like this, and it's like, but it feels like maybe I should only have one person out on the field, even though the rest of your game doesn't imply that.
Well, I mean, you can also, like, countless turn-based RPGs have done this. You do camera cuts and techniques to swap where their positions are when they're being attacked.
Uh-huh.
You make the other team members not there in the central standing position.
Absolutely.
Always. be the correct person.
There's ways to go around this. They didn't do them. Like
No.
something that was weird to me was they even have voice call outs for when someone's going to take an attack. And for some reason, instead of just being like the guy saying, "I'm ready," or something, it'll often be another person being like, "Get ready, Monoko." It's like, you're not the one I'm.
Yeah, that's not great.
My favorite thing about those call outs is when a character will do it and I'm like, "You're stunned." "I'm ready to parry." No, you aren't. Which only really became a sticking point with me once again with the super bosses that can, you took a hit.
Yeah.
That hit broke you. You parried everything up until one hit, so now you get 2 turns in a row of getting hit and you're just dead. And I'm like, this wouldn't frustrate me to the exact extent it's doing unless I didn't have to hear, "I'm ready to parry." And it's like, no, you're not. And I'm going to be here for a whole minute watching you take all of these hits and dying. If you're stunned, fast forward should be an option.
Yes.
Because all I'm doing is watching these goofy Dark Souls feints and swipes for almost half a minute or something. It makes reattempting that really frustrating. I also believe this game should just have a normal retry the fight. It's cool that when you die...
Yes, it should.
It's so... The loop of the game implies the need and presence for that exact thing.
Yeah.
It needs to have the metaphor refantazio button of restart the fight.
Yeah, I never
Right.
thought I'd play a game and go, "Oh, this should be here." That felt so decadent. But yeah, no, this game design really needed it.
Yeah, because they make save points all the time, so it's just
All
a
the
matter
time.
of walking a few steps back. But even that's like you have the load.
And cutscenes. And
Yeah.
the cutscenes don't skip instantly. You have to hit X and then hold circle. So you're doing the wind up, like at the beginning of a cutscene, you do walk and talk. You change the speed you're moving.
Yeah.
We slide in the letterbox. It loads for just a second. Then the cutscene begins. Then you hit X. Then you hold circle. And this was after you ran whatever distance you needed to from the prior fight because of checkpoints every fight. Yeah, this game design, as Agro just said, absolutely needed that feature. So if they add that in a patch, that would be really great. We've talked a lot about the mechanics.
Yeah.
Are people okay with talking about the other parts of this, or do we just not do that this podcast? Because that would be an enormously funny bit. Like, Agro, thank you for playing this giant RPG. You're not allowed to talk about the plot or the graphics or anything.
I could start gushing about all the things I did the DiCaprio point. I'd be like, "That's a thing from this RPG. He actually played it."
Yes, go ahead. It is always fun.
Okay, the area design is very similar to the area design in Atelier games. The entire QTEs and the special moves with the camera cuts are obviously Legend of Dragoon.
Oh, I thought that they were that Odyssey Sakuchi game,
That
Lost
too.
Odyssey.
They're very similar.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if the same guy was involved in Super Mario RPG, Legend of Dragoon, and Lost Odyssey.
Fair.
Because he did 2 of those.
Right?
Maybe he did the 3rd.
Monaco? Is his name Monaco or Monica?
I think it's
They call him Minoko.
Yeah.
Minoko.
Monoko.
Monoko's mechanics are very, very much like, both conceptually and mechanically, well, not entirely mechanically, but Shadow Hearts, because the main character of Shadow Hearts can turn into these other demons and you attack with a wheel.
He's also Go-Go from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, that's all I could think of because he's also the cryptid Yeti.
Yeah.
Or Umaro's the cryptid Yeti. So it felt like a weird combo there.
Yeah.
The AP system is per character, but it's very similar to the way Arc Rise Fantasia works.
Huh.
Also, it's obviously Final Fantasy 13. Perhaps the biggest inspiration.
I find the 13 comparison interesting because I have not beaten 13. I never made it to Grand Pulse, and somebody made the joke of it's like if you started at Grand Pulse, and I'm like,
The areas are very much shaped kind of like Grand Pulse.
yeah, I'm curious about this 13 comparison. Like, what about it is so 13?
Yeah.
Well, you're walking through wide hallways through pretty skyboxes.
But these hallways have various elevations and heights, and the terrain is seamless with it. Whereas 13 is really great in that it feels like every area of that game I played literally felt like an airport walkway or a high school hallway.
Yeah.
There's verticality in some of them, but you can't like jump or use a grappling hook, so
Except
it's
for
slower and
when you
sucks.
walk to an area and then it has like that icon, that iconic
hopping.
13 hopping icon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you've played a lot of RPGs, you can play this game and instantly pick up. They are well versed in the subject.
It does, like, the way the mechanics feel like it'd be one of those one-off when they were being weird with systems in Final Fantasy. Like, the Pictos stuff set up, it feels like something that'd be in a Final Fantasy 8 or something. Because it's got a neat ideas, but it doesn't really feel 100% thought out.
The thing about this game is it's like there are parts that I think could be better and parts I don't like, but I don't care because this feels like I pulled a PS2 or PS1 RPG off the shelf. And it's like, yeah, like sometimes if they do weird things, doesn't always work, but it's good that you experimented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has this very mellow feeling. Like, it feels very familiar. It feels like those old games. This game would get your parents back together.
I think part of that feeling comes from how it tells its story. It feels properly paced. There's a full story here. It's not in a rush to do it. We have a lot of characters. They're very well fleshed out. The themes and struggle of the entire game is very PS1 JRPG core. That's how it hits me, at very least.
Yeah, I feel like broadly it is. And then there's just weird little things, like they take the persona thing of the conversation between characters.
Uh-huh.
But that's not paced right at all. Like, literally, you go back to camp and it's like, yeah, 2 of them are ready. So it's like every time you have to talk to them, do their cutscene, and then talk to them again, do another cutscene with them, and it feels very, very bizarre because it's obviously supposed to be a different day. Like the one time when your main character was like, okay, I'm going to go off and have sex with this lady. Okay, back at camp. Time to go off and have sex with her again.
Yeah, that feels more like a BioWare game to me.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bob. And I've been waiting till this podcast to say this, did every last one of those at the end of the game.
Oh, it lets you skew them up for that. Oh my god.
It was
Yeah, it
so
does.
fucking funny. Hey, why would I do it? I was so strong, I didn't have to remotely try at the game for giant periods of hours.
Oh yeah, no,
You're a sick man.
It's balanced in a way where you get to a point where you find a place of power level and then you never think about it again.
Yeah,
like, the gradient attacks never actually meant anything in my playthrough.
Well, here's the thing. You get a thing that's like parry and you get 20% of the gradient attack. And as Mael, you could just put the Virtuose back on and stuff. Again, I was under-leveled and missing Pictos at the end. So that's where it came together for me.
Yeah, the thing I did a lot was like, I would have, because you can use a gradient attack and then use a normal, then still take your turn.
Exactly.
So it's really useful from an action economy standpoint. So I would use Mael's late game move that will always give you almost half of a gradient attack bar. And then I would have Verso use his big single target gradient attack that can break and will almost always stun and break them.
Yeah.
Then I use his move that deals more damage to a stunned enemy.
It's
And
good
just
shit.
eviscerate them.
Yeah, the ability to just build out so many different cool, weird little combos in this game is staggering.
It's bullshit that if you have the Picto on, that's like you just get 2 turns. It doesn't. You can no longer gradient attack. You don't get a gradient attack and then 2 turns.
Yeah, no, that upset me a lot because that is just
Like
always
that's a little
flipped.
bit too much.
It's like, no, it's not.
Man.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of Pictos I didn't get to see in this game because Act 3 is mostly optional, which is a really neat feature for the pacing of a game. Like, you get to the end of an RPG, they're like, "Are you good? Do you want to just go to the castle now?"
That's literally Final Fantasy VII. You switch to disc 3, you can just go. It's just the final dungeon or these side quests.
It's really
It is
weird.
really cool.
I was kind of disappointed in that final act because Mael's like story side quest is really big, has its own unique area, and it's great. No one else is. Lune's is like
She's
one
kind of the
room, and then you don't even go to a place for Seal. Seal?
Seal.
Seal.
Yeah, I mean, it, as Chris was going to say, like, you know, she is Mael's kind of the main character, which I called immediately when they said Act 1 Gustav. I'm like, oh, he's not the main character of this. Not after him popping up with that and him having that meltdown. It is totally someone else. And then we caught Mael, and I'm like, it's you.
I was really upset because after that reveal, like after Act 2 starts, Mael's obviously the main character. Why are we playing as Verso?
Why are we playing as Verso?
Why are we still playing as Verso in Act 3?
Because, Bob, it's actually really smart. You are the male gaze.
Yeah. Like, this guy sucks.
But it's awesome because he's Ben Starr and he sucks.
I spent most of Act 2 waiting for them to reveal that he was just Gustav from like 15 years later. We were doing some time shit.
At the very beginning of this game, when you crash on to the shores, that is what I expected.
Yeah.
I expected the time loop. I expect weird causal shit and all of the future flashbangs they give you. I thought were implying that too.
Right.
But then it wasn't. And that was cool.
And then it was way weirder.
It was way weirder.
The thing that was driving me crazy for most of this game, I was convinced when Gustav is about to kill himself on the beach right at the beginning of the game, right next to him is CL dead. I was absolutely convinced that was her for almost the entire game.
Wait, you were convinced that was her?
That she was dead.
Oh, okay.
Next to him because it's some lady with the exact same haircut and a sword in her stomach, the exact same place her scar is. But it was just a generic model that looked similar.
Yeah.
And her hair is the worst in the game.
And I also thought something similar for a little while there. I think I shook that feeling within an hour where I was just like, oh my God, are we doing like Gustav died or she died and only Gustav? And then enough, you get to Mel and Mael's talking to her. And I'm like, okay, they
even do the thing where like Gustav is about to explain that he almost killed himself there. And I thought that might also be something about wait, I thought you dead.
Yeah, but then
that just never came back.
It's almost like it was a misdirect.
Maybe.
It's almost like the time travel implications was also a misdirect based on these character designs are similar for obvious reasons, plot-wise. I think this game works really well in that way, where there are a lot of twists you think they're heading towards, and then they do other things.
Yeah, I think one of the really important things that made me still like it with the twists was none of the twists were, there's nothing magical happening at all.
Yeah, that would have, if it was yet another, it was all in someone's head, that would have really pissed me off.
Yeah, no, what sold me on it was, okay, the real world is still weird. These people actually have the magic ability to make universes and are in some sort of feud with the writers.
Yes.
Which intrigued me to no end.
Kojima probably clapped until his hands bled over that.
I fucking screamed.
That is the part of the plot I hate the most. Just the fact there is a different faction called the Writers.
No, that's beautiful.
That's brilliant because the writers wrote that the writers did that.
I hate it because to me, it turns it into young adult novel.
No, it turns it into a Kojima game.
It turns it into Myst. Like they're having a feud with the people who make Myst books.
Yeah, this does have Myst vibes. I didn't even think about that.
It does. One little mechanical thing. I think the game would overall flow better if there was a middle step between the standard RPG damage cap and it being completely gone.
Oh yeah, it feels really, really frustrating for a while there.
So the late chunk, like the late third of Act 2 feels like you're gimped because you can't go above that cap, and then you break that cap and you're one-shotting bosses.
Yeah, I'm like, they just give it to you now after they made you really feel you were butting up against it. And now Act 3 started, and I'm gonna go back to Lumiere and finish this game because no matter how much I love everything in it, I don't want to do the combat anymore.
Yeah,
you should turn it down to you should turn it down to easy, and it makes the parry window like 4 times longer.
I did. I turned it down to easy after the beginning of Act 2. Basically, the moment they introduced the second new kind of parry that can sometimes be part of a combo, and if you're timing it out for the other combo he does that's the exact same rhythm, whoops, you hit the parry button while he was doing his fade to black and white thing, and now it's too late to hit the gradient parry button. That's when I turned it to easy.
That is also, I was talking about, it's like Legend of Dragoon. That specifically is like Legend of Dragoon. because it has a mechanic exactly like that, where it's like it's doing a different thing. Hit this button instead of the one you normally hit.
Yeah, it's also something they do a lot in like Sekiro and stuff like that. And there's something like I like parrying in some other games, but I just don't like it here in this context at all. Like in an action game, I'm in control of so many more elements. I can be readying myself for a parry and could put the camera exactly where I want it.
Exactly. You're in charge of the distance. You can be there or not be there. You're choosing to be there to parry the thing. In this game, it's like, if you're going to do this, give me a consistent visual indicator.
Yeah.
Like, make the light go off with the same timing every time, instead of the audio indicator, which is often buried by the other sound effects and the music, and is on some moves just not consistent.
I mean, yes, the audio mix in this game is hashtag made with Unreal. It's not good. Things and the lighting can often feel the same, and there's such bad TAA that visual cues and things can be horrible, especially on particles.
Yeah, a lot of projectile
are,
particle effects are just like, what's happening?
It's blending into the character model because of this. And I'm sitting here playing on a PS5 Pro. That's insane. That feels nutty to me. But getting back to two other things, I do think it's weird they have an accessibility window, and what Agro's asking for isn't there. There is no.
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
bizarre.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Here's the boop, boop, boop. Like, literally, why is that not there? That feels so strange. I may have preferred to play the game like that.
Absolutely.
Because reading goofy Dark Souls feints and swings isn't that fun when you've been doing it for 30 hours.
I will be stunned if by the end of this year, that it doesn't, one, have us automatically succeed at that stuff option and accessibility, and maybe even we just put like a bulb in a corner of the screen that tells you when to hit the button. I will be surprised if there isn't some kind of accessibility update, because every game gets that kind of stuff now.
And I agree. I think that's really smart. I think that's very likely. This game has been selling really well, so it makes sense for them to do that, at least for the rest of this year, for sure.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to get back to is I actually found the damage cap really fascinating. And I saw somebody else go through the same thing of me, is at a certain point with the damage cap system being the way it is, you start to go, well, then this turn is me shooting them 9 times and then stabbing them with a basic attack.
Yes.
And that's so different from what you've been doing the entire rest of the game. You're now looking at your pictos and going, I guess we're speccing into free aim shots. And that's really fascinating.
I specced into free aim shots all day once I figured out Verso. I just, like, every time he shoots a marked thing, he may get another AP, so he just spams like 15 shots in a turn, then does his double base attack to get more AP back, and then spams 6 more shots.
Yeah, no, it provides some really neat stuff. I think it's very interesting that the only character in this game where you can aim was every charter that had a gun. Was Gustav.
It
made it extra frustrating to lose him. Like they did a good job.
but no, that kind of underscores the core of Gustav, right? Everyone else was exceptionally capable of going on this journey and succeeding, and Gustav had a gun to shoot. Everyone else was good. Mael's literally stabbing a rapier into the air so strong it's hitting them.
All right. Yeah, man. One thing that's really weird in the story to me, unless you want to go on something before that.
I was just going to make the comment of, like, technically on paper, I suppose if you're a deranged, a demented person, you could be like, Miles a Mary Sue. And it's like, yeah, that's, I mean, the core of the game is she's a god. Like, they even have that line where it's like, your name literally means King Dutch or King Duchess or what is it? King Dutch or General or something. They like go into that with what her name translates from French. And I was just like, yo, that's really cool. Her parents were like, guess what? You're based. It doesn't come off as condescending young adult novel core. It doesn't come off as, even though it involves her parents directly, which is awesome. Yeah. It doesn't come off as Mary Sue unless you're a broken person. Which, fun fact, that's almost always... If you're saying that,
yeah,
that's
if you're saying that, it's always something that's.
I think it's really great everything they did with her, and her being the most broken ass character in the game, where you can do the tournament at the beginning with her, get this insane weapon that just puts you in virtuoso stance immediately, and go grind the extra tournament early in the game to be so strong. I just breeze through 5 whole large areas, every enemy dying in one hit. And then the damage cap got involved. It's like, what's up, bro? And I'm like, okay, I guess we're shooting people twice and they're dying. And I thought that was neat. Anyways, Bob, you wanted to say something? Let's.
They make a big deal of Gustav's what's he called? The something converter.
The Lumina converter.
Lumina converter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like when he dies, they're like, "Oh man, we lost this. This is so bad. We can't do anything without this." And then they forget about it. They Verso brings back his arm, which I assumed was the Lumina converter, and then they just bury it.
See,
and
I didn't get the opinion that the Lumina converter was his arm because they didn't have a conversation where they tied those two together.
Right, but they act like the adventure's over because they don't have it, and then he's brought it back so they can go and do their stuff now. But then they don't do anything with that.
Yeah, they do. Like, unless I just missed it, they do just drop the thread of, oh, we don't have a Lumina converter.
Right.
There's only a couple threads in this game they do that with, but that was one of them.
You're right. That really stood out, and it ends up working on the end because, Verso is weird and has all this other knowledge of the universe.
Yeah, and of course you have the Curator who's doing your weapon upgrading and stuff. That would be your extra dimensional shit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially since the Curator is the real Renault.
Right.
Renoir. So who laughed? Who laughed when they revealed that real world Mael's hair is white and just pointed and screamed, "You motherfuckers hate the end of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance."
I think the core of this game's plot is you motherfuckers hate the... Sorry for the spoilers for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Fucking that game's 30 years old. Who gives a shit?
For people who don't know...
I would like to be caught up.
The plot of that game, the core plot of the game, keep in mind, I have it secondhand, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is no, you can't live in the fantasy world. You have to go back to real life where you're crippled.
Yes, that is one character that because the main character and his classmates get sucked into the fantasy world and it satisfies all their desires. Like,
right.
There's a girl who's ostracized for having white hair, and in the fantasy world she has red hair.
Huh.
And is real popular. His meek friend is upset because his dad is a divorced pushover, and in the fantasy world his dad is highly respected and successful and assertive, and also his mom is still alive.
Man, it's real bad when you suck so bad that somebody else's wish for living a different life is that not like I wish I was stronger or better. It's just I wish this guy didn't suck so much.
Right.
And then you have the main character's brother, who I do not believe he is crippled. I believe he's not a paraplegic.
He's fully wheelchair bound.
He's wheelchair bound.
He has a chronic illness that makes him that. But I think the implication is that it could potentially get better at some point. It's been a long time.
Every person I've talked to just laughs about how it's insane that the moral of that game's like, no, don't live in the fantasy world where you can walk around and do shit. Get back in your wheelchair. And
the main character literally is like, no, fuck it, you're going back to the real world.
And this game's plot is so much more nuanced and compelling with what it's doing with its ending and the main characters.
All the characters are written really well.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely was like, who do I pick at the end?
I didn't have a question there.
Who did you pick, Bob?
I picked Mael.
I also picked Mael.
I picked Verso.
Aggro?
Yeah, I picked Mael and then was a little upset at how that final cutscene was framed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I watched the two cutscenes back to back, and I'm kind of like, I feel like the message gets a little muddled about, you need to put aside things so you can move on from grief like this. When putting aside those things involves literally genociding thousands of real people you've made with your magic powers. I think that the message gets a little muddled.
What about the other endings message of escapism could be healthy and help keep you sane? But what if you became a spooky skeleton lady?
Verso deserved
implicate.
That was actually a great ending.
So again,
like the same thing that happened to their mom.
Yeah, of course,
exactly.
Of course, yeah. No, I got it.
No,
that's what I'm saying. Anyways, the funniest thing, Bob, is I didn't get the Verso dialogue about him playing at the concert and his notes ringing out over the theater until afterwards, and I'm like, holy shit, that was strong enough without that.
Yeah, no, I like after everything Verso did in this game, he absolutely has that coming.
No, it's okay. He just admitted he could have easily saved Gustav and didn't.
Yeah, he literally killed Gustav. He killed he got people to help him kill everyone they've ever known.
What's the problem?
Completely unredeemable dude. And I'm like, what is the rest of the party? Like, he should be kicked out. We have this goddess here. We don't need him anymore.
Here's the great thing, though. Okay, I think this is incredible. That shit happened so late in the story that it doesn't frustrate me like it does with these fucking AAA games nowadays. Because you get those moments and then it's like Avowed, where it's just like, well, whatever, party on with them for another third or half of the game.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just side content and then the game's end.
So
it works.
So for me, the game ended. And then I went back for the side content.
The thing that really gets me about the difference between the two endings is that there's this through line where Verso is making the case that he doesn't want this existence, and that if Mael escapes to this painting world that is for some reason automatically morally lesser than the one she came from, that he's forcing him to continue his unwanted existence for her own solace, which is debatable depending on the amount of control she has in this world. And yet that's exactly what she wants her to go do for her dad. But when you watch that ending cutscene, oh, it's fine, actually.
Yeah, no, it's really weird and frustrating.
I mean, the way I interpreted it is that, like, yes, you made it's an allegory for the game's very allegorical, but I took it as, yes, you have to, like, no matter how real these people are, characters in fiction can seem really real. Like, they're not, and no matter how attached to them you are, you need to eventually move on and confront the real world.
I just find the game to be a beautiful analog for AAA game development. At some point, it's like, I'm gonna die in here. I gotta go.
And like I can't fucking pronounce
Simulacrum.
the copy. Yeah, the whatever. I can't.
Yeah, no, it's fucking hard work.
It's fine.
Like the specter of the deceased loved one being like, fucking move on for your own sake, is like one of the most common plot conventions ever. So I was like, I didn't have any moment of like, man, Verso's a scumbag. That I didn't feel that at all.
Yeah, I get it. That's like, and part of that is the core of Verso's character is he lives what he feels is an incredibly cursed existence, and that the life he's given it's not worth living. It's worthless because it's a pale imitation of a real soul and a real person. So he heinously extrapolates that worthlessness he feels about himself to everyone because everyone isn't real.
I don't even feel like it's that. Like, it feels more like this is killing like, he is the fake version of this real person. So he's like, it's killing my mother. It's gonna kill my father if he can't get her out. And my sister's here. It will eventually kill her. So it feels like the brother's like, I'm already fucking dead. Please do not kill yourselves to hang out with my ghost.
Yeah, I mean, it's both. Like, if you listen to his dialogue with him and SKA and all sorts of other people, you get the idea of what I'm saying, where he just has no value in his own life. So the only lives he values is the real family of Versos. Right. So that's where the insane, these people aren't real, so the genocide's okay because I'm also one of them, so I'm qualified. This is his perspective that's fucked up.
See, the thing about that is I didn't even clock that this was going to result in the world being destroyed necessarily. I thought he was just like, okay, you need to get the fuck out of here because this isn't healthy, and if all of you assholes are gone, maybe I can finally die.
You know? I gotta end this party, get all these fuckers out of my house, so that way I can finally blow my brains.
But it is very funny because I also watched both cutscenes, and I watched the male one, and I'm like, wow, that's nightmarish. I made the right decision.
I mean, right? Of course that's the nightmarish one. They play the spooky chord on the piano.
So every time a piece of fiction's like, you can't live in fiction, I'm like, not if you do it that badly.
I think the most fucked up part about the Mael thing, which Bob, of course, thinks he deserves, is that she kills Verso to win that fight, and then just brings him back. It's like, no, you have to be my fake brother.
Yep.
Yeah, because she does this thing of like, oh, well, maybe if you grow old, because you notice he's older in that cutscene, then maybe you can deal with it for however long you got left
Well,
then.
actually, that's the fun thing. He didn't necessarily grow older. His hair's naturally gray. He talks about his hair dyeing routine he does at that village. So it wouldn't even take that long for it to run out.
I thought that he looked like visually face-wise older too, but I don't know.
See, I don't know. That could have just been the gray hair and it being black and white.
Yeah, it's unclear.
I do find it funny for them to be like black and white and 4:3. And I'm like, movies were, never mind. That's
But to Chris's earlier point, the fact that that you can have this much legitimate conversation about the multiple endings of a video game is a stunning achievement in writing in the medium.
especially in contrast to things right now.
Yes. I'm not sure if this is a thing they did deliberately or if it just worked out. The only choice in the game that actually matters, that actually changes anything, is you picking which person gets to make a decision for someone else.
How do you mean?
Because the only decision that actually matters is whether you pick Mael or whether you pick Verso. Like the only dialogue option, not like the only visible, not like gameplay choice. And that's whoever you pick decides what happens for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you being the player having shifted to the other person, you've robbed them of their agency, literally through the trial of combat.
Only one of you gets to be the main character, which, fuck, that moment is real good.
Mm-hmm.
That was I'm going to put the controller down and just sort of stare at the ceiling for a couple of minutes now.
Yeah, it's really cool, too, because as Bob was saying, like, Mael's the main character, but you play as Verso.
Uh-huh.
So it's this moment at the end of like, so who did you think the main character was?
Well, I have general literacy, so...
Is it the one the whole plot's focused on and they're the apparent only soul in the game for the most part, or Verso, who looks just like her brother?
I mean, it's very much like Final Fantasy X, where like you can argue that Tidus is not the main character of that game.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that.
And also, the Final Fantasy X is entirely about coping with death.
I've also heard that.
It's also kind of similar to Star Ocean 3 with its big reveals near the end.
Yeah.
Except done good at all.
Yeah, it's funny how many different RPGs I can point at and be like, this is like that, but done good at all from a writing angle.
I think that there were some of Star Ocean 3 with that twist is done well.
Yes.
Not all of it.
Tactics Advance, however, I notoriously, no. People do not believe that ending felt good.
And I think that one interesting thing it does is even if the server is shut down, all of their perceived consciences, like they were able or capable of high enough thought that they basically recreated their own world. And I thought that was really neat. Just like I think therefore I am being elaborated into the end of the video game being, it's just they thought, so their whole universe does exist. You can't turn it off because you made it.
I like that a lot. Isn't it totally fucked up that this is the best game that Andy Serkis has ever been in?
It is. I was actually thinking about like, this is the best character Andy Serkis has ever played in a video game. Easily.
And time to piss people off deliberately. Isn't it great that Ben stars in a good RPG?
I literally got multiple DMs of people saying literally that who played Final Fantasy 16.
You could say like, he's finally in a good RPG or an RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my follow-up.
His performance here is so incredible. I actually didn't realize it was Ben Starr until looking it up way later. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, no, he does this role very, very well.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that gives a giveaway after is like, the grunts in combat. Like, that's absolutely the same guy.
See, here's the thing. He didn't say, that's enough. And he also didn't yell, Joshua! So I didn't really... If he did either of those, I would have been there. Frame one, pointing, like DiCaprio style. Yeah. No, it's really great. I think this is my favorite Andy Serkis performance, frankly. But I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And, I haven't watched all the new Planet of the Apes films. Maybe eventually.
I mean,
forgot he was in
it
those.
is real good. Like it is like it's really hard in an RPG to like you can make a villain or a boss seem threatening, like by being powerful. You can have them blow up a mountain. The menace, the danger that drips from Renoir is astounding. Every time he's on screen, you're just on edge.
I also think it's like, and this I'm saying, like, I guess that's the point that we never get any even a flashback or anything of the real Verso.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems like such a caricature compared to the real one we meet later that I'm like, is the real Verso just like so much more of a human being than this guy?
That would have been interesting to see.
Right.
And I feel like they deliberately did not give us anything like that. It's left up to our imagination based on the, like, comparing, the father.
Yeah, no, I think that's the important thing to do. You don't need to overly explain things.
On a related note, I meant to, near the beginning of this podcast, shoot you all with, I can't wait for them to make a prequel.
No.
I mean, if it involves like mostly none of the characters in this game and is just about Mael's older sister, I'll buy it twice.
It's about how the writers burned down a house.
Yes.
I would much prefer the sequel where her sister has to fight the writers.
That is like she's fighting her own solo war. I'm like, pan to that.
I would much prefer them to do an original game so they could dramatically change the mechanics of the combat.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Like,
No.
If they re-released this game and they're like, we rebalanced combat and took out the parries so it's a regular RPG, I would play it again and 100% it.
Look, all I'm saying is we need to watch Clair take down the writers. She just cold blood murders 3 of them in the house while it's on fire. Breaks their neck in the most visceral, brutal way possible. It makes The Last of Us Part 2 look tame. Interesting thing here, though, is even though like we were complimenting Andy Serkis's performance, and I thought this was nuts when I saw the credits, the motion capture isn't him. He's just the voice.
Yeah, he's just the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so
Really?
weird.
Because I think it looks kind of like Andy Serkis in the face.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do it. I saw him give an interview about how, it's so weird just doing voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
I
very
guess that
strange.
explains why it doesn't look quite like it. It doesn't look as close as it would if it was a facial scan.
Yeah, it's just really strange from the perspective of he is a guy whose entire career has been he can motion capture and act.
Right. And they just got him to act.
Yeah. Also, the motion performance and the voice acting and the facial acting in real cutscenes is so top notch. I didn't expect that. I figured this was another Sony joint sort of thing where you get the vocal performance when you get the motion performance.
Yeah, I wonder if it's starting to become viable to do like decent facial scans, like without breaking the bank, like without having it finally got to within affordable.
Given the nature of this game's extreme use of asset store stuff, part of me was convinced they were metahumans that were just insanely well tuned and then dressed up.
Their faces do look real weird sometimes.
Yeah, like it's because they've effectively animated them with specific techniques. Like their mouths, if you pay really close attention, especially CL, sometimes you'll notice it. Her mouth is real fucking big. Mm-hmm. But they did that so you can see her expression in the frame. They do it very well. Much like a lot of stuff in this game. A lot of it's kind of janky and off the shelf, but these people use it so well that it makes something more than what they made it out of.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird because you usually see the exact opposite.
Uh-huh.
It's really great to play a game where the writing feels like it has compelling moments to keep going forward and giving you new revelations, because I do believe the modern scale of AAA development robs us of that feeling happening. You know, there's no moment in this game that is the perfunctory, they're having an argument moment. We didn't even well motivate it, but we're grumpy at each other for this chapter. Things like that. I think they did an excellent job here of giving you some interesting new locations, interesting new world lore, interesting character development. I think this game is very expertly done in that way, and that is a really strong component for me, is the story.
Yeah, and it really helps having the exact structure of a PS1 RPG. Just, there's no areas between these big areas. There's just a world map. Go to the next part. And then we can have a story around that.
It's been so long. It's been so long since we've gotten that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They need to take it. Okay, now listen. Sandlot, in your next game.
Sandfall?
Sandfall.
Sandfall.
Sandfall. Do what I say even more and use fixed camera angles.
Yes, it will fix the TAA problem because the background won't need to
You will
move.
also spend a lot less on the game.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, my major complaints with this game are largely resolved by it being $50 instead of $60 or $70.
Yeah.
Like, I think it having major TAA issues and some of the shortcoming fidelity-wise and other ways is kind of washed away when it's like, oh, it's $50. That's what games were during the PS2.
Right, it does make it go down easier with how, like, I think the art design and stuff in this is incredible, and it's really unfortunate to see what Unreal 5 has done to it.
100%, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I
Along
100%
those lines,
agree.
this is, and I hate putting this idea out in the universe because I hate hearing it, but this is the one exceptional case where I'm like, is that really bad TAA or is this just the art style? It's kind of working.
I imagine they are leaning into that for a scapegoat because most people probably don't like this might be a lot of people's first heavy exposure to just the Unreal Engine TAA.
Yeah.
Which for people who are listening and have no idea what that is, assuming YouTube showed even a single person this video that isn't already a GigaBoots hardcore listener. That's temporal AA. Your pixels aren't being rendered for the game anymore. Only a fourth of them are. And it's using stuff like televisions do to guess at most of the other pixels. It has a little bit more information than that, but still pretty similar.
If you played a big game within the past 2 or 3 years and wondered, why does it look blurry? That is why.
Yeah, I see a lot of people describe it as melty, which is a really good way to describe it because low-resolution games can look blurry. These games look melty.
Yeah, the first time we went to the manor, I was like, oh man, this is pretty awful looking. I sure hope it isn't some giant focal point of the game. Oh no.
See, and here's the thing. The reason that looks so bad is because it's using software lumens for the ground reflections and lighting and interior environments, which is a giant weak point of Unreal Engine, is doing these internal lighting moments via software lumens.
Yeah.
And even hardware lumens, which is a real shame because I thought the whole point here was to have dynamic lights that artists wouldn't have to try really hard at. And now it's just, yeah, we fixed that. It's broken. That's how we fixed that. It's broken now. So yeah, again, about being $50 and how important that is.
Yeah.
$50 is also like, I know so many people who normally don't play like modern games who hopped on this because it was $50 and they heard good things. $50 is a lot less of a barrier to people than $70.
Or 80.
Yup.
I was going to say real quick, how did we all play it, Bob? You played it on Game Pass on the Xbox Series X.
Yes.
Chris, you played it.
Same way, Series X at Game Pass. I did buy it after like the first PlayStation. Like, oh, I need to give these people money.
Okay, and then did you play that on Xbox?
I know, I was already 10 hours in, so I'm like, I'm just gonna finish it on this. But if I ever play it again, it'll be on PlayStation.
Okay. Aggro, how did you play it?
Yeah, I bought it on PS5.
I could have gotten it on PC. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then my good friend, Spaceman Spiff, and good friend Edmod, ordered a copy from GameStop and a second one got sent by GameStop. So thank you, GameStop, for the copy of Expedition 33.
I talked about it a ton on the other big thing, but oh man, if I ever play this again, it will absolutely be on PlayStation because this controller is a nightmare on the Xbox.
It's a much lower build quality, and I would not want to parry with those bumpers.
Yeah, the bumpers feel bad for parrying, and the way they use rumble makes it feel like the controller's falling apart, as Chris was saying the other day.
Oh yeah, because he uses trigger rumble, right?
He uses trigger rumble.
It's like you're fucking shaking apart.
Yes.
Oh my god. Speaking of controller, these guys made a very traditional feeling JRPG. Put the menu on triangle.
No, right?
Yeah.
If you added up the seconds I wasted hitting a button that did nothing, hitting the pause button to bring up the system menu, backing out, and then hitting the thing to go into the character menu.
I did that so many times. Also, guys, you should have just gone full JRPG menu. Like, why do you have the names down at the bottom that I have to select a thing? And just here's the thing. You already have a couple spots just in a line. Have equipment
Uh-huh.
and Pictos.
Yeah, no, I definitely had a lot of minor UI grievances related to that. Also, once Gustav dies, for some reason, the menu just always defaulted to Lune, and I was like, this seems incorrect.
That was a little weird. I thought it was because I always had her out when I was moving around because it meant I didn't have to hear anyone grunt from sprinting all the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I often kept pulling her out for that reason. It is just really bizarre, though, because I'm not sure how many people were aware of the system. You can literally just bring one person into combat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the pause menu, you can. So Mael's the only person I'm bringing out, and still the menu is like, Lune.
It just feels
I
like
mean,
it's a
I
glitch.
didn't mind it. Like I'm never mad that Lune's on screen. This roster is fucking incredible. All of these characters, both writing and design, are amazing. When we picked up Ciel in the Gestrel or Gestrel?
I think it's Gestrel, but I swear to God they said both.
Yeah, I feel like
keep
Gestrel is
mixing it up
usually
every
used,
time
but
I
I
gotta
don't
remember
know.
it. When we get her in the village, I'm like, is Monk? Is it a monk? Do we get a monk? And then she pulls out fucking playing cards. I'm like, oh my God, can I marry her?
Yeah,
And then she pulled out two
laughed.
sides, and I got real sad.
Well, I'm surprised you got real sad at that because it's like the ancient, like the old witch thing. I remember you bitching about Forspoken being like, that's there, but it doesn't mean anything. And in this, it kind of does.
Yeah, we talked about it on Big Think, but we didn't talk about it here. It is really weird to play this game and just be like, it's kind of like Forspoken. You're just a little like Forspoken. You're just enough like Forspoken where it's in my brain again, and I'm like, oh my God.
I have to, like, looking at Lune and her, like, thing stuck in her skin to do magic, I kept thinking of that Unreal Engine game, the one that was canceled, that's now called the Overprime.
Oh, I thought of Star Ocean.
Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon the Overprime. Wow, you thought of that.
Yeah, I kept,
That's
like,
crazy. Wow.
everything about her design just made me think of that game. I don't know why.
That's really funny.
I eventually, once I was able to change everyone's hairstyle, I was like, okay, I can look at them now.
Which
like Ciel's his starting hair is hideous.
Heresy.
I think it's fantastic that you get to change these outfits and hairstyles individually. That's really, really good.
I was really frustrated
really good.
that you got it felt like you didn't get good outfits for anyone but Mael till super late.
Yeah, they did sort of pile it on her early on.
I mean, I put that one person in the swimsuit when I did the volleyball minigame, and that was very funny.
The swimsuits are so bad, but I get that that's a joke.
I just needed to put that.
I was upset when I got Verso's swimsuit and the rest of his body wasn't scarred. And then he died. Then they have a dialogue about why that is. But I was like, this is incorrect.
You're lying. The character designer asked you to write this so he didn't have to put scars all over the body.
It is immaculate that Lune's sassy stance she does in combat is apparently necessary to her casting magic. She does it in a couple of shots, like everybody pulls out their weapons and she assumes the position.
Right? I laughed when that actually started happening.
It's so good.
For other weird UI grievances, though, I hate when the option I'm selecting is darkened. I'm just confused what I'm selecting at that point. They definitely, you have like 100 plus luminos or pictos or whatever they are.
Yeah.
I need better filtering options. I only get like 3.
It's weird when your best option, especially when you're doing the Lumina version and not your equipment, the Pictos, is what do I have active? Just show me what I don't have. That'll be faster.
Right. Like it's really frustrating. It's like, show me all the ones that have to do with burn. Show me all the ones that have to do with this. And then they even word some that have to do with very similar things. Like, oh, you're when you're solo, it does this. And sometimes that's labeled solo, and sometimes that's labeled last stand. And it's just like, at least have consistent naming conventions for these. It drove me insane.
That whole system was a little clumsier than it could have been. I actually had to Google how to equip Luminas because I couldn't find it in the menu.
Brilliant UI design.
Yeah, it's a terrible UI design. Weirdly enough, it doesn't botch it as much as a lot of other games that have come out on the PS5 generation that cost so much more. Which it's you might notice a core tenet of me being so pleased with this game is that it's $50 and it somehow it fucks up way less than these $70 games that keep coming out.
Yeah.
Because they have worse UI in a lot of cases. But yeah, no, there are just a million death by a million cuts almost of just like UI wise, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Honestly, the number one thing that got me, you select your skill and tab immediately to the second tab of skills in battle. It'll just not say what it does.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll hang up. You got to go back and forth. I'll tell you one thing though that this UI does have: a font with serifs. Correct.
The camp stuff where you can't have to go back to camp to upgrade your weapons and upgrade your how many luminous
resources,
resources
and
and stuff.
Yeah,
it doesn't unlock for like letting you do that any flag until Act 3, which just made me not engage with the systems until Act 3 basically.
Really?
Because it was just so frustrating. I was like, I don't want to go into the camp. I want to do this when I'm in the mission, when I'm thinking about it.
Really? Okay.
And it just drove me crazy. I have to be back at the main map, like external map, to even approach doing it.
Every time I'm at a camp, I'm like, okay, Mael, come over here. Come over here. We got to feed you 47 of these fucking Lumina colors.
Which I was for some reason pretending the other characters mattered. They didn't.
They certainly don't. If you do it correctly, they do not matter until the post game. Because my God,
they
is
didn't
she
matter
powerful.
until the very like the only now I'm like, maybe I should try and work on them because I'm at the final super boss and I can't beat him.
Simon?
Yeah, Simon.
Yeah.
That thing sucks.
So, speaking of Simon, it's so unbelievably funny. They just do the fucking Moonlight Greatsword cutscene from the Bloodborne DLC after his first form. It's 1-to-1.
I want every person who said in the live chat for Big Thing to mention that this isn't inspired by Dark Souls, you're pulling stuff out of your ass, to just ban themselves from our chat. You have never been more wrong.
Yeah, no, there's an entire class
Learn art design. Use your eyeballs.
Yeah, like there's the entire class of enemies. Like, here's a big knight guy with a mace, and he's gonna do Dark Souls animations at you. You have checkpoints that exist within the game world conceptually and refill your resources, and you also can like level up from them. Fucking come on, guys!
Get over it.
It's so insane to listen to Dark Souls fans be so in the minds that they don't know what a game that isn't Dark Souls looks like by default.
It's like, no, that's just how games look, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it feels sometimes.
Yeah,
but no, like they honestly took the best things from Dark Souls, which we often talk about taking the worst things from Dark Souls.
I don't feel like there was any reason to take the proficiency systems from Dark Souls. Like, oh yeah, for this weapon you want to scale into these two stats. It's like, why?
Yeah, the stats in their entirety. Like, I eventually just got annoyed that I had to go spend 3 to 6 points on everybody every time I hit a flag.
Yeah, I solved that by not. You can probably assume based on my commentary so far how.
Right.
I let him bank pretty high. Sandfall, please. Let me click a stick or something and just see an arrow vaguely pointing in what direction is progress. I got turned around so many times after random battles and realized, oh shit, I'm going backwards.
Yeah, Aggro, you brought up on the Big Thing either last week or the one before that is like, if I go and do a thing and you have two routes, one of which will loop back into the thing and the other one's the correct way forward, you need to signify these with remarkably different art design.
Yeah, like I eventually got better at telling how they thought and how to pick which one was gonna come back. I wasn't always right. I never got lost like I've heard people complain about, but I did often go like halfway down one path and then come back and go halfway down that path and go back to the middle and look both ways and like, all right, two paths diverged in the wood and
Yeah, this has some of the biggest little optional areas I've ever seen in a game where it's like you'll be doing multiple grapple points and stuff to get like a picto.
Yeah, there are even some areas where it ran half of the length of the whole area to get the extras.
Yeah, I feel like they got better at designing stages as I went. Like, it's like, was this designed literally in order?
Could be.
yeah.
Maybe.
Because I don't think I got better at understanding where I was after a quick or a random battle.
Yeah, I definitely still got mixed up right at the end of the game. In fact, not. I think it was the Flying Manor. No, it actually was the Renoir Drifts.
Oh yeah,
Drafts.
the Renraw's drafts is a little rough.
Yeah, I got turned around there. I also got turned around in the Flying Manor. Now I'm thinking about it because you have the offset cardinal directions you go into to fight the 4 mini bosses. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and I every time had to go, okay, well, this one was an elevator and this one was stairs. And then I had to keep running past those two to be like, okay, right, yep, don't redo those. It must be other corners. See, this is why we had to do this spoiler cast. There's a lot to talk about with this game.
There is.
an
There's a
absolute
lot
ton.
in this game. Like, I know we've spent a long time complaining, like nitpicking about stuff in this game, in this fucking amazing game with a lot of beautiful, incredible stuff in it.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about SKA. SKA is great.
Yeah, he's very cool.
I'm going to go ahead and say now, SKA probably winning a Game of the Year category.
Probably.
Uh-huh.
Almost certainly.
Him and Francois are just so incredible.
Francois attacking is so goddamn good.
Yes.
Rah! Minoko is probably up there with the best blue mages of all time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like
Yeah, he's pretty
character-wise
good.
and mechanically.
He's the only one I can remember that's been fleshed out as an actual character.
Yeah, same. Sadly, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think he's really cool. I really appreciate his skill set just being a monster encyclopedia, basically, as it has the rows and columns of the different feat you've collected.
Yeah, and having the realization of, oh, he was the dog. Okay. This all makes perfect sense now.
Excuse me.
Oh, you didn't when you go to Mael's, like the real world, in one of the corners, yeah, Monoko's there. It's the dog.
Oh my.
So he's literally Verso's dog. And everything makes
I
perfect
didn't
sense.
notice this.
Yeah,
no,
no-
I didn't see what you were talking about.
Noko is also there. He's like a little puppy that Monoko's taking care of.
Oh my fucking god.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's real good.
Yeah, no, it's like it reframes everything about the character and makes it make perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It's also really nice to have a character constantly go, such lovely feet, and it just not be weird at all.
You're wrong about that. It is in fact weird.
Some
at
things,
all.
some things can get normalized with a certain amount of context, and that's not one of them. Because dogs like feet a lot. It's true.
It's true.
It's true. That's why they sniff shoes and stuff. Those fucking dogs. My God, I'm having to come to terms with this mid-recording. Bear
There's
with
so
me.
much in this game I know I didn't see that I'm sad I didn't see because I didn't want to do the combat anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like I know there were probably more gestural beaches out there to do. Like I think the most stressed out I was playing this game was doing the gestural beach that was just only up.
Yeah, that sucked. That was the hardest platform in the game.
That was awesome. Did it first try. It was so good.
I did it almost entirely first try. Fell at the very end and then took it an hour of retrying to get there again.
Jesus.
I did what happened to Bob, except I didn't try anymore. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna get whatever's at the end of this.
Wow. See, no, like the first beach I got to, the one where like you and the other guy are on rafts and he's lobbing little guys at you and you've got to do the overworld strike to knock them back.
Uh-huh.
I gave up on that one.
That one's pretty janky, but I managed to do that.
I got into it, but it is rough.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this takes too long to come out. It's too, I can't tell where it's hitting.
So did anybody spare all the white Nevrons?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
didn't kill any of them.
Yeah, I
I probably didn't see all of them.
I didn't want to start shit with them. I was like, there's no reason, bro. We're just two travelers.
If you spare them all, you get 100 color of Illumina.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't find all of them.
No, there's
Nice.
a thing you need to find that'll give you the 100.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you need to find all of them and then you find this guy.
I may have found all of them then.
Right.
I did run to quite a few.
I feel like I only got like one in Act 3, so I wouldn't be surprised if you did find all of them.
Hmm. I did do a lot in Act 3.
Okay.
I just didn't do everything. Because this game has so much side content. And I feel like RPGs have a lot of side content near the end sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But this feels more than ever before. It
Yeah,
feels like a
it's
whole
all of Act
third
3.
of the game. Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And yet when you dig into it, it's not as much as you think it is. Like, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is to combat trials and things are like one room long. So It's not nearly as much as you think it is going in, but it does feel like a bunch.
Yeah.
Isn't there one thing called like the Endless Tower?
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yes,
not
it
to
is
disappoint.
33 trials.
It is 33 trials. There is an end.
So this is something I didn't get because it's only on New Game Plus. Somebody had to show it to me.
Oh.
In New Game Plus, there's an unlockable baguette weapon for every character.
Oh, that's so good. God, the weapons in this
that's
game
good.
are so good. Like one of the best things I ever got for CL was it's just a double-ended wrought iron lamppost.
Yes, that's pretty funny.
Like this is immaculate. At one point I ran into, I feel like it was part of a set, but I ran into this boss in the overworld, this huge ice thing that took me literally an hour of chipping away at it while dodging its attacks to kill.
Oh, so here's how you get the baguette weapons. It's insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to get the 3 festival tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use them.
Oh.
Then on New Game Plus, you can go to the bakery in Lumiere and trade them for baguettes, and you can only get 3 of these weapons per New Game run. So you'd have to go to like New Game 2.
Oh,
God,
man.
that's rough.
Without you spending any of the. Yeah, it's a really deep secret because it's so goofy, I guess.
I also found the other secret super mime that gives you bald.
Holy shit. God, the mimes are nice.
Yes.
So the festival tokens. I found where to use the old key. What do you do with the weird picto?
I did not find where you use the old key.
The old key is just this random ass gate in the ruins of Lumiere. Like you just go off the path and it's in the middle of this pipe. There's just a locked gate and you can open it and get a picto. I
Huh.
don't even remember which one it was.
I mean, at a certain point, you have so many.
Yeah, you have like 100
There
or
are
something.
so many.
I want to throw this out here. Hopefully, I remember to just bring this up on Big Think because this is deep in the spoilers here. I hope we get something like a Mega Man Battle Network that also has a little bit more of this energy to how it works. It just feels like this is such an interesting way to do modifying the game's mechanics to empower yourself in weird ways, like AP per parry, health per parry, building meters when you do certain things. Like that's so cool and so dynamic. I feel like that sort of structure of the Mega Man Battle Network thing really could be an interesting way to take that because it already has some systems like that.
Right.
But it could go really ham. If this isn't one of those indie ones of those, sorry, I still haven't played a single one of those. I wanted to beat all of the Battle Networks before I go do that.
I don't know if this is just me and the person that I am, but I did not realize that the side conversations with Lune and CL were leading to romance options until that happened.
Oh, you can romance
Yeah.
Lune? I thought it was just a Forest Siel thing.
Mm-mm.
Huh.
Yeah, no, after that happened with CL, like I looked it up. I'm like, is this a thing? And apparently if you go with CL early, like you lock out Lune.
Huh.
But apparently her stuff all happens in Act 3.
Weird. Man. I thought I was picking up the vibes of there could be something there with Lune, but I was like, he does so much. I don't feel like in Act 3 he would like there would be a turnaround for her.
It did cause me to end up going like, okay, all right, so we're doing a thing where you can go with either, and that's I keep also having these same conversations with Mael. We're not. You just found out I'm her. No. Maybe Minoko.
She's
Can
16.
I nail Minoko?
And
Is that?
Can you nail the dog? That's the new Twitter account.
No.
For every upcoming game, they let you know. Still no. Years in, feeling pretty stupid running this account now.
God. There's the one Monoko side conversation where you actually have to fight him. And that caught me when I had just not healed. So Versa was one health.
Oh, no.
It was a nightmare.
Oh, well, did you have Berserker Slash equipped?
No.
That'll do it.
Which one's Berserker Slash?
It does more damage the less health he has.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was
It's
using that for a little
real
while.
nice when you're on S.
It's really funny that Gustav just And this is the thing I was saying earlier, but being more specific. It's funny that he literally does not operate on the level Verso and everyone else does.
Yeah, it does feel like if they even put the question marks on his skill tree. Like they were very much implying he's going to have some sort of mid-game power boost or something.
Just wait for this reveal. He's dead. And then there's Gustav.
Really
he's
clever.
dead.
Which is why I'm like, oh, that's clearly Gustav from the future. They're all Gustav. We're going to get into some 5 hours later in Act 2. You're turn around and tell me you're Gustav any minute now.
Any minute now.
Yeah, I killed Gustav. Could you not have done that?
The only thing that kind of tipped me off, and I might even be wrong, it might have just been completely coincidence. I didn't find he doesn't get weapon effects. Like they don't even show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the level 4, level 10, level 20.
Yeah, no, his weapons, like the thought is, oh, some mechanics going to unlock, then these weapons will have something. That was the thought I was going in with.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird. Like, okay, I guess he just does damage and that's it. And then it's like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I think this is honestly one of the best. We misdirected you into thinking, because not even like I fell for it. As I said, the moment it popped up, Act 1 Gustav, I'm like, he's not the main character.
Right.
He could die at any moment.
Yeah, this game, the way it's written, to where, like, immediately, like, we get to the continent, and I'm like, oh, we picked Mael back up. And I'm like, oh, wait, this game did a lot of work to tell me that she's an orphan. She's probably the paintress's daughter or some shit. Did I just call the end of the game and the game puts a gentle but firm hand on my shoulder and says, oh, child, this was the least of my secrets.
Yeah, in battle, like Mael's always like, don't die, Gustav. Like, don't say that. don't say that, say that a little less.
He's okay, just a little sewagey. Well, gentlemen, we got to wrap this at some point.
We really do.
This, however, like I would say, like the phrase nitpicking could be used to describe what we did here, but there are just so many facets of this game that are worth observing and recounting that I really enjoyed being able to go and talk about this at such great length in a format where I don't worry about spoiling it for anyone, because, oh my God, that is every day now. Every day I'm live on Twitch, I'm like, yep, sure want to talk about all of this, especially Gustav, because damn, that's good. Oh, well, that's what Game of the Year is for. Anyways, we got to wrap this. Any other last minute things? And it better come fast, because I'm cutting you guys off. We've been going for a while. Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, again, we need your full summary reviews and a score of allegedly 0 to 10. Gonna get a lot of use out of that 0 this time. We'll go ahead and start with Bob.
Yeah, as I said at the opening, I'm really mixed on it because I like the story. I like a ton of the way the world is put together, but I do feel like the message gets a little muddied at the end, and I have a bunch of little nitpicks with the combat and menus. But I'm going to let it rock at an 8 because it still is like what I want to see more of. Like, it's really interesting. It just doesn't quite nail it. But this is the closest I've ever been between a 7 and 8, I think, ever.
Okay, next we're going to go to Dr. Aggro.
The parts of this game that I like are nearly transcendent. But it's also a JRPG where I hate the principal design of the combat.
Right.
So that's a heavy anchor to have to pull back up. Even so, even despising that aspect of it, I still loved playing this game. It everything else gets it all the way back up to an 8.
Chris Wolfhard.
Yeah, the only problems I have with it is like I wish the game wasn't so completely dependent on the parry and the dodge. Like, you don't have an option to even miss them, really, if you want to live. And plus all the other nitpicks. I will also give this an 8.
I actually found it really hard because I enjoyed the soundtrack, the characters, and the overall story so much. And the combat is neat and fun as an experiment this time. Can feel really empowering in certain ways and is really enjoyable, but I also, towards the very end, really just started to get into that sort of aggro vibe of like, no, I'm not like in order to get to see it all, I have to do a lot more combat. So I don't know. But I was really torn between an 8 and a 9. God, this is like the world's strongest 8. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. Absolutely incredible game. Fantastic game. Really glad it happened. And I really hope the insane amount of sales this game is getting and will probably continue to get make someone somewhere else pay attention. Oh, actually, my number one problem with this game, and we brought this up so many times before now, I think it somehow slipped us saying it in this spoiler cast. Where's the fucking mini-map for these zones?
Yeah.
It would be so much more revisitable if I could go, oh, I'm missing this picto. Okay, well, let me look up on the internet where it is. There's a map. I go there. Okay, I'm now really interested.
Yeah, I literally got completely lost in Frozen Heart. I couldn't find where I needed to go. I need to look up a YouTube video, and that YouTube video was poorly made, so it just warped between the flags. It was like, I need to know how to get to the flag, dude.
No. You missed the part of the journey. It's all about the journey, which I need to see right now because I'm gonna die. Well, that not sure if you caught that, audience. That makes it an average score of 8. I know these are some advanced maths going on here. 1 second. 8 times 4 divided by 4. Anyways, thank you for listening to the Spoilercast review. It really has been a great time, and it was worth going through everything we go through in order to get to talk about that with you. If you're interested in listening to us talk about, oh man, no, not TMC, Netflix, or Craven the Hunter, or Morbius, or Secret Level, or Castlevania Nocturne Season 2, Silent Hill 2, or Visions of Mana, maybe? We have reviews and spoiler casts that we did of that are linked in the description. The executive producers for this month's GigaBoots videos are Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, Cooper Tank, BN12, Rado, Virmvarm, and Matcha Bunny. Thank you very much to our executive producers, and also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or a normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.